Hello, grade 11. Last time we have stopped at one of the most important or one of the most main points actually about adolescence. And we said that adolescence is very important or a stage in people's life. It's a transitional stage between being a kid or a child into being an adult. It's the in between stage, and it actually plays a very important role because it changes your mind, your body, your values, your morals. It shapes the way you're going to live after that as an adult. We have talked about the physical changes, what happens to your body, what's common between men and women, or actually between boys and girls, what's the tasks that you are going to acquire or you're going to be doing. Let's move to one of the most important questions about how can the physical development affect the emotional development. We said that the physical development actually affects the teenager way of life, especially the self-image. At this period of life, teenagers are very affected of their self-image because they find themselves want to know more about themselves. Actually, they sometimes get frustrated or get depressed if they don't fit into the gender image they are or they want to. They want the perfect or the ideal gender, but sometimes you'll find yourself a little bit evading from the way you want to look like. For example, yani if you don't find your hair the way you want, your skin, your teeth, your body, especially the body changes, and you'll find that your body is not the self-image you want, you find yourself whether frustrated or depressed, or some of them are very effective and you work on themselves. Let's talk about the emotional development. Actually, the bodily changes can result in self consciousness. How come? You start worrying about yourself. Individual develop at different rates. Of course, we're not all the same. You find yourself developing bodily changes. Maybe today I maybe get a little bit late. I don't change the way you are changing, which causes some to perceive their bodies as not the ideal. Yani maybe I change, I get very fat, very thin. I don't get the body measurements that I want. So it's not appealing or it's not the body image I want or the ideal body image, which will cause depression. Or some of them are actually sensitive about the changes themselves. Their bodies are changing, especially girls at this time. And they don't find an explanation behind it, and they find themselves very, very sensitive about it or about the traits that they see as sex inappropriate or different traits of maturity will affect their personality, such as self-confidence and independence. These body changes actually has a very or a great effect on the emotional development, whether you get depressed if you're not satisfied with your body change, or you might find yourself inconfident or independent and confident or don't have the appropriate independency, or it will affect your personality in front of the opposite sex or the other sex. Okay, so this one of the most important questions, the body changes that affect the emotional development. Let's talk about some of the facts and find which is right and which is wrong. Which of these statements would Margaret Mead, remember Margaret Mead, most likely agree with? Margaret Mead actually believed that the society, especially the new rapid one, the industrial one, would influence the people living in, not the hormones or the genes. So she would agree that only industrialized societies have initiation rights, or an adolescent culture has little to do with their his or her development, or individuals in non-industrial culture typically find adolescence an enjoyable lifetime, or girls in a pre-industrial culture typically have a great deal of stress during adolescence. Actually, she believes that individuals in non industrial culture will find adolescence an enjoyable time, because she said that the industrialized societies have great effects on people who are living in, but they do not have initiation rites, because we said that initiation rites are the special ceremonies that happen in your life and marks the beginning of the adulthood. Here he's given us an example. Lee Levin just had her bat mitzvah. What is this ceremony an example of? But let's explain first what's meant by bat mitzvah. Actually, Bat mitzvah is a religious initiation ceremony for a Jewish girl that her age is 12 and one day regarded as the age of religious maturity. So this is a very famous Jewish religious or ceremony that marks the beginning of being a mature girl. It happens to girls. So a girl undergoing the bat mitzvah ceremony is the beginning of her being an adolescent. Yes, right. So it's actually considered how teens mature, or an initiation rites, or sexual maturation, or formal operation thinking. No, it's actually an initiation rites. Why? Because we said that initiation rites are special ceremonies that mark the beginning of a new stage in our lives. So here, the Bat Mitzvah is the beginning, a ceremony that marks the beginning of a pre-maturity, girls' maturity or religious maturity. So it's an initiation rite. About what percentage of teens have a healthy or positive development in adolescent years? Actually, being healthy or being positive about your development is not a big percentage. You'll find that 50% or maybe slightly more than 50% only have the right way or the right self image about themselves. But the others, whether they are late mature, so they will find themselves different, are not reaching the stage that they want to reach, or they don't have the complete body image they want, so they feel depressed or unconfident. In many societies, what event is seen as the beginning of a womanhood? Actually, in all the societies, the beginning of womanhood will start by the menarche, which is the first menstrual period for girls. How does incarnate affect adolescent body? Actually, the asynchrony is the beginning of the growing of your body parts. So it really affects, um, or it really affects the people who are adolescent, because it's starting to grow their body parts in different rates. Maybe it grows for someone in the normal rate, for other one it doesn't grow the normal rate, which will start the emotional problems, people who are satisfied with their bodies and others who are not feeling well about their self-image or having problem with independence issues or self-confidence. Let's move to the next one. During the teen years, the level of dopamine in brain can increase, which can lead to, you know, that the dopamine level actually increases for many reasons. If you play sports, if you listen to your favorite song, if you're having a wonderful time with your friends, you'll find that the dopamine will increase. So sometimes, if it increases very much, it can lead to risky behaviors. You'll find yourself very happy to the extent that you won't be cautious, or you won't take care of yourself while having risky behaviors. You find some teenagers going to climb mountains, do special hikings. They don't pay much attention to the risk they are going undergo or they are undergoing. How do the brain's frontal lobes change during adolescence? Yes, actually, it changes. At first, there is an increase in size, but later the size of the frontal lobes would decrease. So the frontal lobes of the brain of any adolescents will change. At the beginning, they are getting bigger, then they are decreasing in order to absorb all the changes that happens inside the body and the mind. How does early maturation typically affect boys? Yes, the early maturation, they are more likely to be self-confident and independent. When boys are matured or having their maturation process, they'll find themselves like men, very independent and very self-confident. What is a common characteristic of girls who mature late? Actually, if they are maturing late, they tend to have better relationships with peers because now their mind can accept what kind of physical and emotional change that happens. They are big enough to accept it. What is true of these sentences about AIDS? It is virtually everyone who is infected with AIDS, entire homosexual, or has used drugs intravenously, or the number of people in the US with AIDS has remained constant from the 1996 to 2008, or is it the number of people in the US with AIDS has more than doubled from 1996 to 2008? Because of increased education, the number of people with AIDS has dropped significantly in the last 10 years. Actually, no. The number of people in the US has doubled. Why? You'll find that the industrial society is actually has its influence on people who are living there. They are taking risky measures. They are experiencing new things that happening in the society because of not controlling their adolescence, body changes, and emotional changes. Okay, let's move on of these sentences if they are true or false. Number one, adolescent development varies greatly from one teen to another. No, it's not varying greatly, but it varies sometimes. At the age of 15, boys begin to develop pubic hair and larger genitals. Yes, actually, it happens. They start to develop many things. As brain's frontal lobes mature, some abilities become hardwired while others become are lost. Yes, you are changing greatly, but not the frontal lobes. It doesn't affect your kind of how you behave or lost. No, the frontal lobes will increase, then they start to decrease. During the early teen years, the levels of neurotransmitter dopamine decrease, which can lead to moodiness. Actually, it's false because it increases, which can lead to risky behavior. Humans reach sexual maturity just before they hit a major growth spurt. False. After they reach it, they start to have the growth spurts. Okay, that's it for today. Let's move on next session, inshallah.